Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? And by welcome back, I mean, holy crap, welcome back. I am Mike. I'm here with Randy. Randy, it's been a minute.
Unearthed from the doldrums for sure. So, but
Yeah,
welcome back indeed.
we'd put the Dexter episode out about, oh gosh, a month ago, but we haven't recorded in 6 weeks. And we're
Life
we're
gets in
kind
the
of
way
catching up.
sometimes, you know.
I was gonna say, it's honest to God, it's my fault. It's you. You can be nice, and
As long as
you
we put that on
are.
the record, so
No, it's my fault. My life, in a good way.
yep.
For those following on social, know what, like, my life exploded in the last 6 weeks in a million different ways. Absolute insanity. But it's nice to sit here without obligation today, other than to talk bullshit with my friend Randy. I mean, maybe
There
my
you
friend. I
go.
forgot to concede to the show. So I actually saw you in person in those 6 weeks. In those 6 weeks we didn't record, Randy and I actually saw each other in person, not awkwardly staring across at this camera. It was great. Didn't live up to your expectations. Did you see me and think, oh, no, actually, no.
It's if in this edit you can just kind of like move this thing over just a little bit, then that's how it was. We were just standing right next to each other. So, but no, it was
I'll put the
good.
photo for the video people. I'll put the photo of us standing next to each other right here in the center, and you can judge if one of us is actually AI or not.
As much in depth as we get, and to being sincere here, like as much in depth as we get into a bunch of stuff and learn a bunch about each other's interests and things for this podcast, it was nice to just kind of catch up and bullshit. I will say that.
Yeah.
So I was glad we got
Yeah.
the chance to do that. So more thank you for coming to where I am as opposed to
Oh, yeah.
me never visiting you. So
Well, yeah, you're a real asshole. It's fine.
facts.
There was one funny moment, without getting in the weeds on what, when, or why. We actually were technically working together, not in a room together, but on the other end of an intercom. And somebody knows we do the show. We weren't bringing it up. It was not us doing that. And somebody went, oh, we're going to do a podcast app? So we just got on the intercom for about 40 seconds and did a fake intro. And everyone just kind of looked at me and like, I hate you.
They brought that on themselves. You know, it was unprompted.
Don't start the bit if you don't want us finishing the bit.
You know how committed we are to nonsense.
You're damn right. You're damn right. So what today is going to be is a little bit of us getting back to the swing of things. We're going to talk about what we watched. We're going to do a big what we watched over like 6 weeks of, thank God I actually watched stuff. I didn't find time to watch stuff in the last 6 weeks.
But as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, I got one big thing and then one other thing, but hey,
I've got a few things. So maybe it'll be a medium what we watched, not as big as I imagined. But it'll be good to, knock the rust off here. And then we did have an episode that I foolishly thought I'd edit while I was in the middle of my big insane run. I was like, I'll get it out. Don't worry. That episode was recorded 2 months ago. And so after we do this, what we watched, you're going to get tossed back to a younger, sprightlier, less world-weary pair of us to
only
talk
we knew
about...
then.
To talk about, of all things, Spin City and Mad About You. So, of all the random shit to just have ready to go.
Oh, but I mean, gosh, I hope it holds up, knowing so much more in the 6 weeks since then that have happened.
Really, Spin City has really come into its own, 20 years and 6 weeks after it ended.
Precisely. It was more than 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. But so we'll get going on a bunch of shite now. I'm under the impression we could start with one show we both watched based on your text, and I didn't think you were ever going to watch this. You watched Peacemaker finally.
Just the first season, so I'm one episode in the second season, so I'm not all the way through.
The second,
so.
I was ready to fucking go for it, but okay.
So
understood.
you're gonna have to cut it off at the end of the. No, I take that back. I'm through 3 episodes of the second season, so I'm understanding of the different realms and him running into himself and spoiler alert, killing himself.
Let's dial back.
Yeah.
Peacemaker, of course, John Cena, cameo appearance in Superman. One of the lead characters in the Suicide Squad, the good James Gunn Suicide Squad, and because of James Gunn, the holdovers from the old DC universe that they're like, we liked that part, that will stay. Because there's a handful of those things, and I'll talk about that and a couple of other things I watched. But give me your impressions of Peacemaker Season 1.
It's everything. It's so cool to see something that very clearly has somebody's stamp on it. So,
Hmm.
and John Cena fits really well in it. But this is James Gunn. Like it
Hmm.
is, it very. You watch it and it's a little more violent than on some James Gunn stuff I think we've seen. But that
See,
is, I
I
think,
think it's more pre-Marvel James Gunn. If you think Slither, if you think
fair. Okay,
Super, if you think this is James Gunn without as much corporate oversight.
oh, I didn't know Super was him. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right,
Yeah.
so that Super's the Brain Wilson
Yeah,
and
he wrote it. I don't remember if he
yep.
directed it. I think he
Okay,
did direct it though. You keep going. I'm gonna look it up.
gotcha. So, but there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with it where it maneuvering through.
He did direct it.
I don't know. He did okay.
Yeah.
I really appreciate something that has an ongoing stakes to something, right? Like a bunch of shit's going on. Like I appreciate character development, and we're figuring out how Peacemaker is kind of reintroducing himself into the world and society after all his time in the mental hospital, and having the kind of butterfly people. I don't want to call it a side plot because it's very
I was
important
say, yeah.
to the
I
whole.
realize this now that we're in a second season. Maybe it's less want to give a spoiler warning, but spoiler warning for Peacemaker season 1 starting
Yep.
right now. They're
Oh,
basically
gotcha. Yep.
pod people. It's a pod people story, for lack of a
Yep.
better term. Yeah.
And it's interesting because the way that they've laid everything out, you're not 100% sure if they're the good guys or the bad guys, which it's in any other pretty much pod person type thing, maybe with the exception of the Skrulls, right? Like, which are more shapeshifters. Um, they're not there to help humankind, or they're not there in their mind they're just there to take over. Essentially, that's kind of what the butterfly people are looking to do anyway, but they have a different take on why. So it could at least be understood that it's a sacrificial thing to help continue humanity, or that's their point as they're trying to make it.
And
So you can
before
sort
they
of see
really
their point of
went,
view.
oh, sorry,
That's it. No.
I thought there was a natural pause. We've lost our rhythms. It's been too many weeks. My goodness, I thought I had my moment. I was going to say too
Go on.
is before some of the butterflies really turned evil, quote unquote, they were trying to kind of take over more of the dregs of people that you wouldn't want. That like,
Right.
not that anyone should die, but like they're going to take over criminals and people like that to make them better people and live their lives there. They're not going to take over the body of a really great grandmother loving person and ruin her life. At least at first was the plan. Then things evolved and
Sure.
things change.
And they have the unfortunate, which in a lot of other, I guess I'll call it unique, where the pod people take on the memories and the affectations of the people that they overtake. So it's, you have to deal with that being in your head at the same time. You're not just wearing a meat suit of of this person. So, but I like that there's more. It's Suicide Squad-y kind of 2.0, like a lot of, in terms of troubled individuals who are getting this chance to try and make things work, given the opportunity to make this come together. They found kinship in one another, right? Like they've actually
It's a
enjoyed
found
themselves.
family story on top of a pod person story. It really is.
Right.
But which is it is, and which is also why I think I loved it so much because I really enjoyed both of those
Guardians
genres.
is like, I mean, it really is. It has that same. It's the same kind of not plot driven.
James
type
Gunn
thing,
does
but
have tropes. Let's not deny it. He
but they're
likes
good.
found family.
They always work.
Yeah.
Like if for some reason he
Yes.
finds a way to make people that are flawed find ways to come together, even when in their previous whatever they would be like, I'm on my own, I'm better than you at this, and they find a way to work together, and then they find themselves as a group as opposed to just finding themselves as an individual.
And don't let the description get you too much. It's not some hoity family drama, obviously. It is very violent, very funny. It is very funny in all of this, especially. Sure. You can see John Cena over the course of Peacemaker season 1 and 2 really becoming a better actor. Not that he was a bad actor. I've always liked him better than The Rock or some of the other people. But he's even talked about being able to work with James Gunn and doing, like, having James Gunn in his corner. It's turning him into a real actor. Like, he has said those words. Like, and you're right. I agree. It's really impressive to see. He's not just, I love him in The Suicide Squad, but that is a very generic meathead role, right? Now, suddenly, he's having to really grow as a character, an actor, and it's like, oh, he's handling it. He's really
He has to
handling
carry it. So I mean,
Yeah.
he just had to be another fun part in an
Yeah.
ensemble. You know, it was Dirty Dozen type stuff. You know, like he just had to come in, say some shit, fuck some shit up. Like now he has to carry the emotional load of. I mean, there's other things. I mean, we're completely spoiler or whatever. He has to deal with the fact even though his dad was a racist asshole, he shot him in the head. You know, like
Yeah.
he has to deal with that. Like that. That no
There's
matter
a lot
what,
going on.
that has a lot of things. And so I had read a couple things even before I had watched the show, not necessarily delving into it, about how the underlying theme of, you know, mental health and mental wellness, of, you know, having that be baseline and finding ways to be as healthy as possible mentally, can be as important as if you are physically gifted with everything, right? Like he is, you know, in top physical shape. He is an expert fighter, expert marksman, all this other stuff. But that can all be compromised if he's not all together in the head, right? And so I really enjoyed going through it, and it kept me watching. I think the only thing.
And how about those opening credits? Did you watch those opening credits every single time?
Nope.
What, really?
I think I skipped every time. So
what? Not even the first time?
I didn't. I got about halfway. I don't.
You realize those are the credits to the show are like amazing.
Yeah. So
that's like one of those things people watch the credits.
No,
every
he would
time
start. No. What I would do is he would start to do this, and then I would hit skip intro, and then it would be him holding Judo Master, and that's how I would watch it.
Did you watch it the first time?
No.
Why the fuck not? It's one of the best intros of all time. It's like a smash hit. They did something even different, bigger, and two because everyone loved it so much. You didn't give it one shot and watch it one time?
Nope.
How can you judge that you want to skip it every time without watching it one time?
My time is limited. I'm not interested.
You're not going to watch it, but
it's
not
now that
just,
you made a big deal, I'll go watch it. But it's
no. But I really just want to lay out. It's not just but they're neat, they're fun. It actually informs. They lay out. You won't know it, but watch it at least the first time and the last time because they spoil the entire season. But you wouldn't know what any of it means. It's an interpretive dance of the entire season laid out front to end. But it just looks like they're dancing. It's all the characters, their stuff, the alliances. So the first season, the first episode looks like gibberish. And then by the end, you're like, oh my God, look at everything laid out. And they do that season to season. And I'm like, you got to at least watch it a couple of times. It informs the mood of the show.
I will go rewatch it. But if you give me the option when I look at something and I say, okay, I have a limited amount of time to watch a couple episodes. I would like to get this in. And you give me the option to skip 2 minutes of an intro, which that is an anomaly. They're not often are the opening credits something that are telling fun Easter eggy stuff. It is the same thing over and over again, which I anticipated it was going to be. Also, the first thing I see is John Cena starting to do a wacky dance. I wasn't that interested in it because I thought it was going to be goofing around. So that's what got me. But given that information, I will go back and watch.
My first follow-up is on the nature of opening credits in general. Whenever I watch a new show, I would not begrudge you in a 10 to 13 episode season. As much as I enjoyed them, from episodes 2 to 12, skip it every time, right? I understand that. I'm not insane. Trust me, I get that. But I have issue genuinely with you're starting a new show. You have to watch the opening credits the first time. It's part of the package, of the presentation. Think about Daredevil on Netflix. That is just this beautiful Game of Thrones. It's this beautiful, haunting thing. If you'd skipped every time, you'd never know. You have to watch it the first time, at least in the first episode.
Maybe.
I'm just stunned. That's all.
I disagree. You watch the show the way you want to watch it. I watch it the way I do. So that's
okay. All right. And this is actually viscerally getting something. This is waking me up. This is getting me back in the mood because I'm stunned because yes, I get skipping, but the first episode you watch, that's the rule. That's the rule, Randall.
I make my own rules when I watch TV. So
apparently, clearly. A couple other little things I wanted to hit aside as I calm down. This first season, technically, still takes place when it was filmed, when it was released in the old DC Extended Universe.
Okay.
like the end of the first season, obviously, the Justice League shows up with
Right.
Flash and Aquaman and all that. But if you watched, and you probably fucking skipped it, so there's a recap in the first season, or the first episode of the second season. They refilmed all the bits that would have connected it to the old universe with Superman characters. Guy Gardner shows up, Hawkgirl shows up, and they're all cameos. They're 2 seconds, they're lines. The joke about Superman that he makes at the end of Peacemaker season 1 about Superman's like a freak and something, instead they change it to Guy Gardner's like a puke freak and he likes puke. And it's Nathan Fillion's there and he's like, I don't want to help this guy. He says I'm a puke freak. But they're little one-off cuts as if they had been part of episodes that never aired. They just reshot these bits to be like, no, all the story from season 1 happened, but ignore this character, this character, this character. It happened this way. And you get to see that. And it's really cool.
As I'm reflecting upon all this conversation in my head, can I make a point in my own defense?
Yeah.
You're not going to care, but
I'm listening.
Are you?
I'm sitting right here, motherfucker. I'm listening. I wasn't talking.
For many a time, watching many a show, my wife was the queen of wait for the end of the credits to see the 30-second trailer for next week's episode. This is more like linear TV type stuff. And then sit and wait for a 2-minute, hey, maybe this is what's going to happen here. And I had to sit through so many of those that I think it has, formed my, if I get a chance to skip something, I skip it.
Knowing that Audrey doesn't listen to this show and knowing that we do not talk, like we've never actually really had a conversation.
You call me out on this?
No, I was going to say, you are so lucky there is no way for her to find out what you're saying right now, that you are blaming her for your inability to watch television.
That's not true. I'm just saying that has informed it. So it's having that so much in my head where I'm like, I don't really care about sitting through all this when I can gather it from. I am also a post-show like recap finder and look into it and let kind of some of my things be influenced by what I'm reading and finding out there to say, oh, I didn't 100% understand that. Maybe I did if I watched the recap and didn't skip it. So that's
okay, fair enough. Well, as in all things, to your credit, as in all things, guess what you can do after this, if you really wanted to, go on YouTube and find everything we're talking about and watch it in 5 minutes. It's not like you have to go fire up the fucking show again and watch all of it over.
And given your passion, the passion.
No, now I don't want you to watch it because you're going to go into it with hate in your heart, and I don't want you to go into it with hate in your heart.
No, I want to see based on those that I could see what I missed. How about that?
I got you. Aside from it just being fun,
I'm not going to go in with any preconceptions. I'm just letting you know why I did it, but I will go in and say,
I'm fine with that.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't want you to open it up and be like 2 seconds in, Mike's a fucking idiot. It was like, oh, you didn't even try.
I'll give you a second-by-second blow. This is dumb. This comment is stupid. I don't like this.
You know what this gives me the vibe of, though, is like, whenever I say, hey, you should watch this, and somebody fires it up, I'm like, oh, I didn't mean now. I don't want to be in the room when you watch it. Or somebody recently was like, oh, here you do videos. I was like, yeah, they just started watching one in front of me. And I was like, can we not do that? Yeah, like this exists in a void. Like I know I do this for people, but we're not going to do this with me in the room.
Not interpersonal.
Yeah. Right. In the real world, this isn't a thing. I had a couple of videos do well recently where like people who didn't know I do them texted me a link of myself. And it's like, no, I know, I put it out there. Like, you realize that's my name on that video.
I'm well aware the video I created.
Yeah, thank you for sending me my own video back. That sounds like such a dick thing to say. I'm sorry. And then 2,
it didn't have a lot of thought put into it,
I'm glad you found it. I don't know how to react to this. Yeah, I'm glad. Like, subscribe. Thank you very much. I sound ungrateful.
Your own fame is your greatest downfall, Mike. So
fame, Jesus Christ, fame. That's sad to say out loud. Although I did get recognized at the TSA pre-check in Nashville this past week. I was walking through I'm going through security, and I get my little, I I got clear. Let's not worry about, what I've done.
You got something on your shoulder there, so.
Honest, all is just wasting money, but it's great because it really does. In the right moments, clear saves my ass when you say you can leave late and do all that. Anyway, this is not an endorsement. This is just me being a fucking primp-ass traveler. But I'm going through, and I, got my phone out, and the clear person's there, and the TSA person's there, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Because it's also like after a show, and I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not mean. I'm just like, hey, how you doing?
Sure.
And he goes,
Run
hey.
down.
And I'm like, huh? And he goes, you do videos? And I'm like, yeah. And I never handle that well. Not like I mean, I'm just always stunned. Because and I sound like a dribbling drunken maniac. Like, no. Anyway, moving on. But so you said you're 3 episodes into season 2?
Yes. So I'm trying to remember now. So the first season, he finds the door to the other world where his brother's still alive and his dad is not a awful
None of that happened in the first season. That all happened in the first episode of the second season.
Sorry, I thought that's what you asked me.
No, I was asking if you started the second season. I thought you were saying in the first. Okay, I missed. The way you said it, I misinterpreted.
I meant first episode of second season is what I meant. So I was recapping in my own head what I've watched, and
understood.
I think so. There.
And spoiler alert for the first 3, whatever, 2, etc. Please continue.
Exactly. And because I'm trying to figure out based on you having seen all of it that
you just what you remember.
He has the last thing I saw was he tried to text what's her name, Harcourt?
Yeah.
And she said hey, and then did the broken heart emoji, and that's the last thing I've seen. So like cool. so they haven't encountered one another in the other dimension yet.
So all I was going to say,
I'm guessing they're going to. But
right. You're talking alternate universe Harcourt instead of our Harcourt. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're both alive.
So the only thing I would say, and I already told you this in person, but I'll say it here for the podcasters. If you are traveling and you would like to download this season to watch on a plane, do not watch episode 1 or 2 on a plane, because they start at different moments. They have, just full-on orgies in Peacemaker's home. And I'm sitting in my little window seat with my iPad on the tray, and I'm enjoying Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1. La, la, la. Oh, this is lovely. And all of a sudden, it's after, I think, his interview for the Justice Gang, and he's pissed off, and he's angry, and they cut back to his house, and it's just fucking John Cena with butt-ass naked people everywhere. I mean, full frame, every inch of the frame, naked people. And I just slammed my fucking iPad down on the tray as fast as I could. And I looked around, and I'm like, the person next to me definitely didn't see, but I'm like, there could have been, you know how like when someone's peeking in the seats behind you, like that crack of the seat, you're like, ooh, that's that person watching. I don't know, but that could have very easily been happening.
It's so, well, first off, I texted you, I think, when I watched that, and I said, well, I just saw the scene here where, like, you didn't reference that it was the naked orgy part. Like, you just said, there's one scene, don't watch it on a plane.
Yes.
And I text, so without that information, I watched the first episode, and I just texted you going, well, I think I found the scene you're talking about. It made me think I was on a late night flight where they dim the lights in the cabin, and so almost everybody's asleep. I don't know if it was a red eye or an overnight flight or something like that. I just was on that thing where I couldn't fall asleep. Like, I'm usually pretty good on a plane. It doesn't bother me. I can nod off and be fine. And I was going through, and someone and I had been talking about Spike Lee like earlier that day or a couple days ago. And Do the Right Thing was one of the movies that was on. And I was like, oh, I haven't seen this in a long time. It's a great movie. Let me put this on, and I'll just kind of like, it's something to just give me not to calm down, just to sit there and watch like that, to occupy some time. And it really, because I could be invested in the movie. And there is a scene where Spike Lee's girlfriend, played by Rosie Perez, and she is just basically completely naked in the whole sex scene part of it. And there was a part where it's essentially almost like Rosie Perez full frontal, and then they do a cabin announcement. And so it
I can see where you're going with this.
Oh no.
It froze.
Now mercifully there's a big thing, like probably like that size, on, oh wow, that was awesome. That worked out.
If you're
I
watching
know that
on the
was
video,
unintentional, but that was really funny.
if you're watching in the video, it was like a Mexican soap opera because my camera settings were on like auto something. So I like reacted and I threw my hands up and I like did a dramatic zoom in on my face
I
to
know,
my
you should be
actual
like,
shock.
oh no.
Yeah. Anyway, you were saying?
So, and it was, I don't know what it was with the captain, but he took so long to explain the announcement. And I'm like, it's the same thing where mercifully, like the there is a plane announcement, your movie is paused thing came up on the screen and covered most everything. But initially I did the same thing where I like almost like put my hands up to just be like, go God no. And again, dimly lit cabin. I'm in a window seat, so, and in a not very full plane, so I'm probably lucky to get away with it. But I know that fear that you were talking about exactly.
One follow-up. Was this on like the live TV you can watch on a plane? This was a plane movie? Because don't they do plane edits for reasons like this?
Now I think it's more like they give you
the movie.
Just so you know, and they give you the little, hey, just so you know, there's some bad shit in this movie. Like, please be careful with people around you. And I blew past that, I guess. But to know the terror and the immediate horror, I am one with you on that. It made me think of that. What else? I mean, it's there. We could go on. There's a ton.
So I actually got one thing that ties into all of this.
Okay.
There's one more James Gunn-led DCU universe project I watched. I watched Creature Commandos, which is the cartoon that they put out, which was technically the first thing released for the new DCU before anything else. It was made under the auspices of the old, DCEU, but it carries into all the stuff. It takes place very clearly post-Suicide Squad, post-Peacemaker Season 1. There's a few visual flares and things, like there's a Superman visual reference and a Batman visual reference that show it was designed to be in the old universe. But if you can set that aside, everything else very clearly slots in. One of the lead characters is Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr., who's in Season 2 of Peacemaker, is the general in Superman. And it shows, is actually part of, when you put these three projects together, if you're not watching all three of these, you don't realize Rick Flags had an amazing character arc, and you can see all of it. And but it's for such a side character that, like, you can tell it's not going to be one of those, well, you didn't watch all the shows, you're not going to understand the movies moving forward. This is the best type of, because I've watched the shows, I can see why he is who he is in Peacemaker Season 2. Because this clearly, with what happened in Superman and what happened in this, I'm like, oh, his brain got fucked. He's not the person he was. And so, but this takes place post-Maker. This takes place post-Peacemaker Season 1.
Copyright that.
Where Amanda Waller's been outed, Suicide Squad's been outed, and they even got, Viola Davis back to voice Amanda Waller. She's in the cartoon. Frank Grillo's in the cartoon. Cool. They got a bunch of other people. But she uses the loophole that the government said she can no longer use human prisoners or humans to do her work. So she finds all the non-humanoids that they have in prison to form a new task force. And it's basically Task Force M. They call it Task Force Monsters. And it's literally, it's the Bride of Frankenstein. It's a fish woman. King Shark makes an appearance from Suicide Squad at one point. There's... The breakout character, though, he's only in 4 episodes of, I think, the 10, but my God, you love him, and especially in this world you love him, is a GI robot, who is a robot that was built in the 40s exclusively to kill Nazis during the war, but they never updated his programming, so he's always just looking to kill Nazis. But he's voiced by Sean Gunn, and he just has the most pleasant demeanor. He'll just walk up to General Flag and be like, General, are these Nazis? And they're like, no, GI. Oh. he's just waiting. He's always so chippery about it. And there's one moment
I was gonna kill them.
Right. I'll look up the photo of, and I've posted this somewhere, but like, I want
you
the
sent
feeling
to me.
of, yes, I want the feeling of happiness the GI robot has in the moment when he's finally told he can kill some Nazis. And he has, this robot just has the biggest smile on his face. And this montage, you know James Gunn and his music montages, right?
Sure.
They use the song Coin Operated Boy, which has been in a few different robot things over the years because it's very clearly about, Coin Operated Boy. It works for robots. But it is just this haunting bit of TV that, like, is it transpositions, juxtapositions? Juxtapositions. A flashback of the last time he had gone whole hog, he's just following his programming, but it was post-war, and they were Nazis, but it was post-war, so they just thought he killed a bunch of people. This business thing, and it's all these different scenarios in his life and how he got from the 40s to the 2020s, and it's just this beautiful piece of fucking television. And I'm just like, no one's watching this. And like, I feel like for as great as this was, I don't know a lot of people that took the time to watch Creature Commandos, and I was just blown away.
I may have to add it to the list once I get through Peacemaker. So
it's a quick watch, and it's definitely got James Gunn sensibilities because and especially with the animation, in like episode 2, I didn't expect it. Like Frank Grillo, and you can tell as this season goes on for Peacemaker, his character's a little bit of a horn dog, and they really show that in the animation where like Frank, he just fucking, it's a cartoon and they're fucking. And I'm like, I don't know how, all right, hey, get it, girl. But just really well done show. I'm excited. I think there's going to be a season 2. And I cannot wait to talk to you about the rest of Peacemaker season 2 because I have so many things that I want to connect back to Creature Commandos that don't, like, it's another one of those, they all connect. It doesn't. I just think it might one day. And it really makes me excited to see how, as a fan, this could all come together. And that's the difference right now for me between DC and Marvel. These are all these, I'm having fan moments with DC of how it could connect, not, well, it has to connect this way, and they're plugging this piece in, and they're plugging this piece in. I'm just seeing all these characters that I'm like, oh, these guys would link up, and this would be really fun.
Huh. Okay.
So anyway.
You bringing up Frank Grillo, I'm trying to remember, is he, how many people have been in both MCU and the DCU?
Not many, because he's Crossbones in Marvel.
Right.
I mean, Josh Brolin's technically 3. He's Cable in the X-Men pre-merger. He's Thanos, and I'll say it, it's one of the worst movies of all time. He's Jonah Hex. Why does my camera keep zooming in when I move my hand? I thought I turned that off. Anyway. All right, not to keep, bogarting the content train here, Randall, but I'm sure you have something you want to talk about, but I have one more thing. And I do think it's kind of a natural transition because we went Peacemaker to Creature Commandos, which is a cartoon. I have one more thing, which is a superhero cartoon. So I'll hit that, and that'll kind of be it for me.
Okay.
I did watch one piece of Marvel content. I watched Marvel Zombies on Disney Plus, which was like 6 episodes, and I think, am I like one of 2 people that probably watched it with the current state of Disney Plus shows and Marvel animation and all these things? And like, I think I watched it because the old comic books, the Marvel Zombie comic books, and this is in no way adapted. It is, they're taking the name and a little bit of the vibe, but it is way different. If I actually got a faithful adaptation of the Marvel Zombies graphic novels, I'd take all my money. Take all my fucking money. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But, which by the way, they could now. They have the rights to do it finally. But anyway, I still really enjoyed it because for me, much like how I enjoy a pod person story, in a similar vein, in a horror movie scenario or end of the world scenario, I really, really enjoy a we're being picked off and turned scenario. Like, here's a group, no one is safe. Who did we lose? Who did we add? How have we evolved? And this team that ostensibly, it starts in the first episode, grows, changes, and evolves to where only one person from the first episode is alive, well, and kicking in the last episode. And I got really involved in it as that type of thing, to the point where like some characters who lasted through episodes like 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm like, No, like I got genuinely invested when they got David Harbour back to do Red Guardian, and he's great in this, but they put him through the fucking ringer. He comes in and they start, and he has, like, his whole family is alive and oh, spoiler alert, even though I just kind of ruined it ahead of time, sorry. Although it sounds like no one's going to fucking watch this show anyway but me. But, like, they put him through the ringer, and just, like, daughter after daughter, friend after friend, dies and dies and dies. He finally gets bit, and he's turning, and it's him with Kamala Khan, who's just trying to help get this thing going, and she's losing it because he's the last person who's been with her almost the entire time, and she's just trying to move on, and I'm just like, this got me. This really, I'm like, I felt the emotion of, like, I just wanted this motherfucker to live. It's just, it's a very formulaic zombie story, in that there's a MacGuffin that they think can end it, and they're trying to get it from point A to point B. It is as formulaic a tale as you will ever have. It eventually links up with that one What If episode. This does take place in that Marvel Zombies What If episode. Halfway through, you find out what happened after that and how it all connects together. And so it's good though. I enjoyed it. I was invested in the characters, the drama. It hurts me because it ended with a cliffhanger for a season 2 that I frankly think will never happen. So I'm like, cool, but I doubt that ever happens. That said, if you can live with a cliffhanger you'll probably never have a resolution to, it's a quick watch. You know, they're half-hour episodes with credits, you know, so you're looking at 20 minutes.
It's established I don't watch, so it's
well, there you go. So you're looking at 20 minutes a pop for like 8 episodes. It's not a lot of time. They breeze through. But they got a bunch of the voice cast back. Listen, the people you think they get back, the B tier, C tier, D tier, the A tier, no. Because Black Panther had survived that Marvel Zombies episode of What If as like a major plot point moving forward, they do one really beautiful episode in sequence with what happened with T'Challa, and he's silent and stoic, but it's really good animation and a really good bit of business. And you get to see, even if you don't hear Chadwick Boseman's voice, you get to see T'Challa really kicking ass one more time, and it's a really nice bit of business. And you recall he was dying as those other episodes were recorded. He sounded so weak in those What If episodes. I was curious if they'd repurpose any voice, and I'm kind of glad they didn't. He was really,
he made that character, for sure.
Yeah. So and I don't even recast. I just thought maybe they'd take the What If voicing acting and put some of it into this to like give him a couple lines, and I'm glad they did, just to let him be forceful and strong and not sound weak at the end. But it was an easy watch. I know you're not a horror guy, but it's not like it's the scariest shit in the world. It's Marvel Zombies. But I don't know, worth a watch, quick and easy, nice and breezy.
Yeah, I mean, zombies seem to be a little bit more because it's an impending doom that, yes, there are jump scares and stuff, but I can wrap my head around that more than I can, I mean, oddly enough, zombies are kind of unkillable unless you put their brains most of the time, but the monsters that just seem to keep coming or something like that zombies have a common thing that they want, so I can kind of understand that, and it doesn't annoy me as much as other horror tropes where they're just bad to be bad or evil. I think that's ultimately what bothers me sometimes with some horror movies. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's reasonable. Oh, and by the way, this will be released either on or around or just after Halloween. So this is technically our Halloween episode. And because I talked about zombies very briefly, that counts. Welcome to our big Halloween spooktacular. Everything's
perfect.
Ooh. There you go.
So that's your thing. Oh, my turn.
That was it. That's all I had, man. I hit a bunch of shows. That was my big spooktacular. And whatever you got, man, lay it out. And then we'll toss it over to the scariest thing of all, 90s sitcoms.
I had 2 things. One kind of came out of something I wasn't expecting because my wife has really gotten into trying this year to put into reading a lot more books and finding other ways to get invested in a lot of other things she can read.
You ready? You ready for this? Nerd!
Oh, there you go.
Please continue.
And in addition to that, so she got an Audible subscription, and has started to listen to books in the car. We went to, shocker, a lacrosse tournament this weekend. That was an
Isn't
hour
it
and a half
cold out
away.
now? Is it still fucking lacrosse season?
It's they play inside starting in the winter. Like
Does it never end? It doesn't have an off season?
It not technically. You can keep there's enough. It's a big thing up in the Northeast. So there's actually, and it's all over the place now. Like it's actually down in the Carolinas and Florida and stuff like that. So
I'm never gonna have kids, but if I do, they're never playing fucking lacrosse because I don't have that kind of time. That ain't happening. So,
I don't know. It's given the options of other sports they could play. It's
okay. Fair enough.
So while we were on the way, we had to drive like an hour and a half to this lacrosse tournament in Massachusetts, and my wife is listening to the audiobook of Hail Mary, which is the upcoming movie with Ryan Gosling.
Is that the Project Hail Mary or
Project Hail Mary? Yeah, sorry.
I've read that book. That's a great book.
Okay. So
who's the nerd now? Sorry.
There you go. I
read the actual book, by the way.
So
with paper.
just listening to the audiobook, we went out and got the book. And so I'm planning on reading it just because the guy they picked for the audiobook is great because he just kind of covers this little bit of like the snark and does some of the voices, and it's so far been really interesting. We listened for 3 hours, right? So I didn't know anything about it other than having seen the trailers for this Project Hail Mary, but I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna read it and then be probably more interested in the movie. So I was glad that I was introduced to that in a more kind of comprehensive way.
Is I love the book, but I also loved his first novel, The Martian. And while everyone talks about how great the Martian movie was, I was so let down because my two absolute favorite sequences in the book, two of the coolest things I've ever read, I'm so excited to see this on the screen, didn't make it. And to me, they got glossed over in a montage and it never came up. And I'm like, how did you not know? No. And the way that he writes, Andy, do you remember his name? The author?
Starts with a D, right? Was it M?
No, I don't remember. Andy Weir. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
The way he writes is so intricately detailed with his dialogue and his descriptions, and his narration is never cold. It's the character every time, and you feel it.
Yeah.
To where, like, I liked The Martian, but you lose so much in an adaptation where you can't hear that voice all the time.
I'll have to go back and read that one then too, because I really liked the movie, not having the context of the book. But there's certainly been a multitude of books that I've read where, like, yeah, they did a nice job with the movie, but there's some stuff that like I thought I was looking forward to seeing it on the screen, right? So I understand that completely.
And as much as I liked Project Hail Mary, I liked The Martian more. I really liked Project Hail Mary, but the book Martian, I've read that book 3 or 4 times. My paperback is fucking worn out. I'll just bust that thing out when I want to read something comforting. It's really well done. Anyway, sorry, I derailed you. I just didn't expect that to come up.
It's, we say it's across a couple different things of medium, or media. So that will be one that started as me hearing part of it, and now I'm intrigued. I'll probably just start reading it from the beginning, and then by the time the way I read books usually too is I dive into them for hours and hours and hours, and then I'm done in like 2 days, and so it'll be hopefully done in time for the movie.
I assume that your audio was the unabridged version anyway. You were getting everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why anyone would ever do an abridged audio at this point, but I like to ask. So
no, and
I don't know. You skip the opening
fun.
credits. Maybe you're skipping book passages because it's fucking abridged. I don't know.
It's a weird way, I like a more difficult type of reading. It's called every third chapter. So it's but what the hell is going on?
I wouldn't worry about it. I fill in the blanks up here. So I write my own stories.
That's right. Chapters 2 and 3 are my skip intro button of the. It's great. The other thing that I watched has been, and it's ongoing because it's been releasing every week. I think on Wednesdays on Hulu. It's a true crime. I mean, to call it true crime, it's taken some things from the headlines. Murdaugh, death of a.
Wait, are they doing a Roger Murtaugh backstory movie?
No. Murdaugh, not Murtaugh. That would have been an A-Team thing, but Death in the Family, and it's following the story of Alex Murdaugh, keep doing that.
I just want to
Was
see
it?
Danny Glover in this. It's so bad.
Who was a prosecuting attorney or an attorney from a lineage of a legal family going back years and years and years and years in South Carolina, who is involved in some shady business where his son is driving a boat that leads to a, I don't know, wrongful death, and it's about how he and his dad and his brother are trying to get his son out of this legal issue. So we find out that as an attorney, where he's winning settlements for his clients on, whether someone who is paralyzed from a car accident or things like that, he is working over his clients to the fact where they will get the settlement money from the insurance company or whoever is paying it out. He has it go through a different financial provider so that basically like he gets the money before they do, and then spends his client's money while assuring them that it's just taking a while to yeah, he's kind of a real
I didn't
douchebag.
catch. Did you say this is based on a true story or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You did.
So this and
What's it called again? I'm gonna look it up while you talk.
yeah, Murdaugh, Death in the Family.
That's right. I kept saying,
yep,
not Murtaugh. Thank you.
Yeah, right. And it stars Jason Clarke, who is an Australian actor who I knew from playing Jerry West in Winning Time.
Oh yeah. I mean, we talked Winning Time. Also,
yep.
he was in Oppenheimer as the asshole who's pressing in the hearing. Right. And he's in one of the worst Terminator movies as John Connor.
Yes, there you go. And also was apparently it was a Showtime drama about the Irish mob, I think in Rhode Island. Which the more I looked into that, I was like, oh, I should check into this more.
Man has had a real up and down career when you look at his IMDb. Yeah. We won't get into it now, but for every good, there's a real bad.
He is not tasked with playing a character that has anything that is redeeming. So, and he does a good job with that, of just being a complete asshole with no moral compass. I mean, will just do anything to keep on his heirs of their rich lifestyle and anything that he's doing. He's opened up like 7 or 8 LLCs trying to make money and skirt around different legal things with just his contacts. And he goes way, way back where his dad has got him out of, drunk driving charges when he was at the University of South Carolina. So, but what has happened is one of the son's friends obviously is killed in the boating accident. And so there's that part of it. Their housekeeper mysteriously dies, and eventually, I mean, this is public, this was a murder trial in 2023. His wife and his son end up dead. And he is, I know this just from looking into the story. I mean, he's going to get charged with their murder and most likely did it. But yes. With the reason being, he's basically over leveraged himself times a million because he's trying to continue to put on airs and thinks he's above the law and anything. He's never really had to pay for any consequences for anything that he's done. And so he just continues to kind of take people's money, spend it on himself, and do these things that he thinks are making himself better. It's I may not be explaining it perfectly, but it's a good Southern Gothic crime drama type thing.
By the way, I know I keep harking on this part of the joke, but legitimately, I can see your confusion because with the different names, it is actually spelled Murdaugh, like Murdaugh.
And they make a point of that in the show. Like there's one of the other characters is a local reporter at one of the local newspapers who is really diving in and has her, and that's what they all say. It's like Murdaugh. It's like, wait, what? So there's all sorts of confusing things about this too. The guy's name is Alex, but everyone calls him Alec. Like it has a very Southern nicknamey thing going on.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds fascinating, and I do love a good true crime from time to time. I have to be in the right mood, but it can happen.
Jason Clarke gets really good. He's a real like you really think he's a real asshole. Like he just he is he does a really good job in it. The guy who played Major Dad plays his dad. That's
Gerald Rainey? Gerald
yeah,
McRaney.
that's him. Gerald McRaney.
He's in House of Cards as well, as I recall.
Oh right, yep. Patricia Arquette plays the wife, the matriarch of the family, and there's some interesting stuff going on so far. It's I think 6 or 7 episodes
in.
Right
now. This cast looks really solid. This is really good looking stuff. I fear that because this isn't where my head's at immediately, it's going to become one of those, it's on my list shows, but it does seem like something I would enjoy if I can take the time, energy, or whatever mood to get there to watch it.
I think it's definitely one of those where if you start it, you'll be like, oh, okay. Like it pushes you to the next thing to kind of see what happens. So they started by releasing 3 episodes initially, and so that's what kind of got me hooked.
Or are you still waiting for?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know how many episodes. I think there's been 6 or 7 so far. I don't know if they're going to do 10 this season, but.
And you said Hulu?
Hulu, yeah.
All right. So that adds another. You know what we haven't talked about? Just I guess it doesn't really matter as much, but the news that Hulu is officially being shuttered and being kind of folded into. It's interesting because you had mentioned, I think it was, I was like, oh, did you see Hulu's being shuttered? And you were like, what does Hulu even do? But I feel like we're always talking about some random weird little fucking Hulu thing. And you can say, oh, that would continue on Disney, but maybe not. Management changes, organization changes, things evolve. Like, do you lose this type of show that could be coming up through a platform like Hulu with it being shuttered? It's just something to think about. I don't know.
I think, and I know it's not necessarily to the extent of what Ryan Murphy's doing with his American Crime Story and things like that, but there is definitely a market for watching anything that's based in true crime. I mean, Netflix is full of these things where it's just any sort of, even if it's a documentary, but if it's, the pseudo documentary dramatization of it, I think there's still a place for it. So it wouldn't surprise me if Disney finds a way to continue that type of stuff.
By the way, did you see that I'm really disappointed because I was thinking, it was like, oh, what was the last American Crime Story? It was the Monica Lewinsky one. They were developing a 4th season that last year officially they canceled, but it was going to be the rise and fall of Studio 54. I would have loved that.
Interesting.
Like Steve Rubell and Ian Traeger, I remember that behind the music so clearly. Steve Rubell was a fucking insane person. I would have loved watching that show. Well.
In due time,
you never know.
There's a lot of outlets for things. We'll have to see.
That's a fair point. Anything else?
Oh,
or are we going to wrap it up?
Thing, no, we didn't. Whoa. I don't know if you saw it. Whoa. So, did you watch the John Candy documentary?
No, sorry. I've been busy and I haven't taken the time.
No. That's got to be our next one then. So it's awesome. It's really well done.
I will watch. It's you can kind of tell with everything I talked about with my schedule. Everything I watched was short form. I haven't had time to sit down and watch a project, but
it's
on the list.
It's just one. So that's the thing. It's not episodes. It's just one. Hour and a half. So
I mean, legitimately though, it's one of those funny things where like once you go past 40 minutes on something, I hadn't had the time, like watch it on a plane, watch it on this, watch it on that. I just haven't had time to get past 40 to 45 minutes.
Fair enough.
It's on the list and I'll make sure it is on top of the list. What is it actually on?
Amazon. Or Prime. Yep.
Okay. No, I have that because I canceled Netflix. I canceled a few services just because I'm like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
Sure.
But I still have that one. So that's on.
Nice.
Are you ready to transition to turn the clock back both for us and toss it over to us from 6 fucking weeks ago?
Speaking of 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, right. And where we are going to talk about 2 distinct sitcoms from the mid-90s, early 2000s, which we talk about, and it's going to sound obscure, and that's kind of the point. We were like, what are 2 shows that were massive at the time, but kind of don't get talked about, aren't in the cultural zeitgeist anymore? And we get into who, what, where, and why, and let's do that right now. But we're going to come back at the end and say goodbye. Although maybe we recorded the goodbye. Let's record something anyway after we're done, Randy. We'll tack it on.
Oh, boy.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? I am Mike, and I'm here with Randy. And we are once again going to delve into the scary, scary decade that is the 1990s this week. Randy, you were alive in the 90s. I was alive in the 90s. It's terrifying.
I mean, no, but I think part of it was there were limits to what we could watch, right? So there was just stuff that was on, or a book, and oh God, no, not a book. So let's watch this drivel that they put in front of us. And sometimes things come through, but it's amazing how many things, this is kind of how it came up, you and I talking about it, how many shows that were on for long periods of time and that we both remember pretty favorably, but then don't remember anything about.
Shows that have not held on to, how do you want to phrase it? I was going to say they'd fallen out of the zeitgeist, or shows that, it's not that they didn't age well, because they're aging fine. It's just that no one talks about them anymore.
It's they landed in a very certain time frame where they were mega popular then, still remembered favorably. I think if somebody would bring it up, they go, oh yeah, I remember some of that stuff, and people probably do remember certain moments. But other than that, I mean, these aren't Cheers. This isn't Seinfeld, Friends. I mean, those were mega hits, obviously, but they stay on everyone's lips. But
it's a little wordy for a title, but I can try to get that made up. I'll write that whole thing down.
I was trying to explain it, jerk. But
okay. See, I was already going to see, if you're watching the video version, there's going to be a full text of what Randy had said for the title of this segment on the screen right now. And that will be, anytime we do this moving forward, the recurring title of this segment. And, you know, we like the idea, so as long as it goes well, we'll bring it back. Do you want to talk? We're going to cover 2 shows today. Do you want to cover Mad About You or Spin City first? Your choice.
If we go chronologically, I guess we go Mad About You first, right?
Sure. That you're right.
That
show
really matters,
did come out first in 1992, and I believe Spin City debuted in 96, or was it 97?
Yeah, I had 96 also.
Okay. I wasn't sure on 96. When did the movie, see, you know what? I almost, in our discussion, started diving into trivia about Spin City to discuss the dates of when these 2 shows started. Let's set that aside.
Yes.
Dial back to Mad About You and talk about the further adventures of Carter Burke falling in love. Carter Burke, of course, the bad guy from Aliens, who survived, moved to New York City, changed his name to Paul Buckman, and became a filmmaker. He has a big hole in his chest. That's why they never take his shirt off. It's the same character from Aliens, I promise.
They referenced it once, right? There's one.
Yeah, there's a
alien joke, right? Yeah.
There's a joke where they're like, "Yeah, haven't you seen that movie with the thing that pops out of the guy's chest?" And in classic wink, wink fashion, Paul goes, "Only the first one." See, the joke is he's in the second. You get it? Anyway,
very funny.
I rewatched 3 episodes last night for this. I watched the pilot, a random first... Actually, I watched 4 episodes. I watched the pilot, a random first season episode after that, a random 3rd season episode, and about half of the finale, because I couldn't find the full episode, so I watched clips of it online. I found, YouTube clips from the finale. And then, I actually watched like 3 YouTubed scenes, not full episodes, of the 2019 revival, just to get, an earmark on what the fuck was this. So, gut reaction on Mad About You is I started watching it, and I don't know if I went in wanting to not like it or with some preconceived notion. I watched out of order. My first episode I watched was actually like episode 13 or something, which is the flashback episode to how these 2 characters met. And I started watching it maybe cynical or annoyed, and my notes reflect that, although I stand by them. And that, is Paul Reiser 90s cute? Was he cute then? What is this? Like, was he considered attractive then? Because, I don't know, he's that thing of the 90s where a guy in his 20s or early 30s looks 45. Like, people make those jokes online about how people age differently, and I kind of buy into that with this one.
I think he's fallen into the Billy Crystal, New York, whatever.
Okay. He's always looked a little older, but then he also just didn't age because he always looked the same. Like, in the revival, he looks the same with gray. You know, like, he looks like, Paul Reiser is still just Paul Reiser.
Yep.
Okay. So then the way they meet, the meet cute, is kind of cringe, especially by today's standards, because Paul Reiser basically stalks her. Like, he straight up. Did you watch the episode? Have you read this thing? Do you know what
I've
I'm
read the
talking about?
synopsis, but yeah, keep going. So it's
Okay.
I watched like the very or a snippet of it.
Okay, so listen, what I'm getting into is I took notes that seemed very cynical. That was like, why does every meet cute in a classic situation seem problematic? It's weird. But then I started going and I realized like when they finally get in a room together and they're at the party where they first meet and, their characters first meet and they start bantering. Suddenly, it clicked for me why this was a hit because I was too young when it was on to care about adults falling in love in New York in a show that really was never laugh out loud, drop dead funny like even a Friends could be sometimes. This was wry, witty banter, dialogue, occasional physical situations. But like once they started going back and forth and talking, I felt such a chemistry that I suddenly realized by the end of the episode, like, oh, I'm really invested in this relationship and seeing where it goes. And that's how they fucking won people over. Those two in every scene being attractive and, having a chemistry. Thoughts?
I think that's the relatability of it, right? Where it's not just you're not just seeing a typical, I don't want to say typical sitcom setup for every episode, right? Where something wacky, there's a miscommunication. He doesn't really mean what they think he means, but she thinks that. And it gets into this isn't the big party. It can be, but or this isn't the big event that the two go to. This isn't the work always. This is the in-between times. And they even said that as they were developing the show, that's what they wanted to explore, is that what is for couples, sometimes there's humor in the mundane, for lack of a better term, right? Like the in-between times. And because, I mean, and it's undeniable, Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt have awesome chemistry in this show. Like they are great together. They play very well together. It's very easy to believe that they're a married couple and just, enjoying each other's company and have found the person that is right for them, even though there are times when they're mocking each other or there are times where they're kind of yelling at each other, but that feels very real life. And so I think that's what set this apart a little bit more, is like relatability is the word that came to my mind first. And I think it's what set it aside so that by the time you're done with that sitcom, you're kind of just hoping, because you're invested in what's been going on, because it feels a lot more real.
So, and let's cards on the table here. You're married and I'm going to die alone. So we're coming from very different perspectives on relationships in this episode. So to hear you talk about the realism, the relatability, the aspects of what you're seeing out of this ring true, because you would know. You have experienced, for lack of a better term, the mundane in-between times of what it would be.
Well, from a storytelling standpoint, it doesn't sound like, if you write it out on paper, like they argue over toilet paper or something like that. Like if that's the 2-minute part of the scene, that looks really boring on paper. But if you figure it out,
it comes down to the chemistry. It comes down to the chemistry and how they're arguing about it, because they pop off the screen. So, watching the pilot, I was also intrigued because the pilot aired in 1992, and there's some stuff in there that I just thought, wow. We've become more prudish over time as a society. And I feel like, despite what I say, I feel like when it comes to television, a lot of things, network TV has gotten a little more reserved. If you want to see weird shit, you got to go to cable and streaming and elsewhere. Like, scene 3 in the pilot is them fucking in the kitchen. And literally, the way they shoot it is like a kitchen table edging on the ground while they talk like, do you think the guests know we're in here? Do you think they see us? Oh my God. And it's them like finding they haven't had sex in like 5 weeks, and it's them reconnecting and all these moments. And all I can think is this is way more even just implied graphic than I would have ever expected from a network sitcom, especially in 1992. Like there's no implied of, ooh, maybe they're having sex. No, they're very clearly fucking on this table. And like, they're fucking, you see the table moving and like lettuce falls off because they're fucking on the table they're making the dinner on. And I'm like, this is 1992? I did not see it coming.
Yeah, I mean, we're still on the tail end of like 80s where anything went, right? Like things, maybe not as much on television, but definitely in movies. So maybe we hadn't reached that point of we need to kind of really figure out how this message is coming across, or people just had a different take on it.
You're right, because we're, I think, 5 years away at this point from TV ratings. The upper left corner that we've had since, I want to say, 97, that people are accustomed to now, that put a different spin on things. You could have just turned this on, no idea what the target audience is, what it is, who it's for, and Paul and Jamie are just going at it.
Yeah. Was this always, did you see in terms of time frame? I don't know why.
What do you mean time frame? Like when it air?
What time did it air? Yeah, because it was always in that Thursday block, right?
But I believe it was
mostly. I think it went to Sunday towards the very end. But
was it okay? Stand by, please. We'll as always when we start doing these episodes, cut out some pauses. So I went to Wikipedia and I picked 3 or 4 episodes to try to figure out what night of the week this aired. And I typed into Google what day of the week was December 17th, 1996. What day of the week was, May 28th, 1999. And we legit got 3 different days of the week back across 3 different seasons. So to answer your question, Randy, I don't actually know what day this aired properly. I don't know if there were special events or they moved it across. Also, was this one of those shows that was popular enough, which, by the way, usually hurts a show's popularity, where they're like, oh, we can move nights to anchor other shows. But a lot of times, the audience doesn't follow it to a new night. So are you fucking with it by moving it around? I'm not sure. But I can't get a distinct answer on exactly what nights this regularly aired.
Huh, that's weird.
Because I also thought of it as part of a must-see TV block. But there was that point when NBC was so big that they rebranded must-see TV as like every fucking night of the week. Like it's all must-see TV. The classic was always Thursday, but here we go. We're going back to the. We're going back.
That's crazy. I'm sort of not shocked, but I vividly remember it being a Thursday thing, and clearly it was not. It doesn't look like it was.
Here we go.
Not often, anyway.
Mad About You for the 96-97 season added a 4th must-see TV comedy block on Wednesdays. Then that same year, Mad About You was moved from Sundays to Tuesdays. Then it stayed on Tuesdays for the next season. Mad About You was moved to Monday nights the next season through its 7th.
What else was on Tuesdays with it? Like, it's...
Mad About You, I don't think, was a Thursday show, which, to be fair, I don't remember us talking about it in our must-see TV Thursday episode.
And as you mentioned that, I don't remember either.
We never discussed this show then.
I'm not sure why it's like in my head. It was
because
on Thursdays.
NBC was so prevalent. Wait, hang on. New Arrival, which was Mad About... No, their first season, they aired partially on Thursday. So we did have to have talked about it, but briefly. In their first season, they moved to Thursdays after initially airing on Wednesdays and later Saturdays. And then...
Amazing this show got as long as it did.
Yeah, no shit. And then it was the next year they moved to Mondays. So this show was all over the fucking place and still did as well as it did. My goodness.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's if you put on decent TV with good leads...
people will find you. Yeah. You hope people will find you anyway.
Right.
Fascinating. So, other things that I want to talk about in this show, and we're going to eventually hit on the Richard kind of it all, because he kind of transcends both shows, has roles in both shows. We have a lot we want to say. But I think let's save him for last. We use that as a bridge to Spin City. That said, let's talk about some of the side characters, some of the guest stars, some of what this show is about. As this show got popular, a lot of guest stars. It was more guilty, I think, possibly because he was a filmmaker, possibly because they took place in the heart of New York, to bring in guest stars. They could always say, Paul wants to work on a documentary with so-and-so. And so Yoko Ono showed up because Yoko Ono was going to make a documentary with Paul.
And Jamie was PR, right? So, I mean...
That's right. I forgot, yeah.
Easily, she could be, having them as a client or whatever, too, so...
Obviously, you got Paul and Jamie, Paul Reiser, Helen Hunt. For the supporting cast, you have Anne Ramsey as Lisa. Jamie's sister. You've got Lila Kinsey as Fran Deveneaux, her best friend. Richard Kind is Dr. Mark Deveneaux, her husband. Ira, which is Paul's cousin, and basically
Yep.
fulfills the best friend role, played by John Pankow.
Yeah.
And then they recurred often. I think they were made regulars in season 6 and 7. Cynthia Harris and Louis Zorich as Sylvia and Burt Buckman, Paul's parents. Interesting thing, I so clearly remember the ads and like with the hype that they got Carol O'Connor from All in the Family and Carol Burnett, famously just Carol Burnett, to play Jamie's parents in like a later episode. I didn't realize they were the third set of actors to play her parents in the show. They recast her parents all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It was wild. So, but I remembered the other two, so I assumed it had been the whole time, and I was looking, and it very much was not.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
The only other character I want to mention right away is, where the hell is he? Selby. Jay Selby, played by Tommy Hinckley, Paul's college friend, 13 episodes, season 1 only. He fills the Ira role in season 1 before Ira shows up. Because Ira starts coming in, and they're like, oh, he's going to be... Never mind. Fuck you, Selby. You're out. He gets one reference later when they're trying to pick, like, the godparent to their kid that they've had. And they're like, what about Selby? And they're like, oh, we haven't seen him in years. And that's the only reference he ever gets.
And neither of you, viewing audience.
So now that I've laid all of that out, Randall, what do you got on the thoughts of the supporting cast? What did you like? What did you hate? Do you anything you want to hit on any of these people?
I think they had a good thing going that fit Paul Reiser's comedic styles for Ira. I think that was a good, because Ira was generally mostly like the single guy. Sometimes he was dating. He had girlfriends for a couple episode arcs, but he was generally like, Paul is the just chill married guy. And then Ira's the let's go out and find some girls, let's talk to this girl kind of thing. That always, in the clips at least that I watched, there seemed to be a lot of that type of stuff. So it worked where Paul Reiser could do his kind of like bug-eyed, like, what are you doing? Like reaction to a lot of the stuff that Ira was doing. I thought Anne Ramsey is a really inspired casting choice because she really feels like Helen Hunt's older sister. Like that just, they kind of look alike, and then also like their mannerisms and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I remember when I watched the show, always enjoying whenever she showed up in a scene, because I always thought she was, she was purposely like off kilter or whatever, like was the wild card, but always seemed to, she could come into a scene in about 30 seconds and unravel it, which was fun.
And it's fascinating to look at too, is I'm really curious about the evolution of the show the last 2 seasons. Because she appeared less and less through seasons 4 and 5. She left the show for season 6, and so did Richard Kind. I don't see why she left, but he left to go do Spin City. They both came back to recur and do guest spots in season 7, but then season 7 is the last season, and you just wonder what was going on where they both were like, well, I guess Richard Kind got a job, but why would she leave? She was regularly billed as a lead seasons 1 through 5, even though she was doing less. It's interesting to see.
She was in, when did League of Their Own come out?
Oh gosh, 92. So the same year as the first season. Yeah.
She was one of the peaches or whatever. Like I do remember that, because her name almost sounded like Helen Hunt. It was Helen something that was like a last name, so which was kind of random that she was playing a character named that when her sister was actually named Helen Hunt.
You know what? Actually, I think she just got a lead on a different show. She was the lead on the show Della Ventura, an American crime drama that aired from September 1997 to January 1998. Ooh. The show is based on the life of NYPD detective Anthony Della Ventura. And
that's a short run.
Yeah. A former New York police detective works as a private detective, taking on cases in which the bureaucratic legal system has failed. And it looks like it wants to be Law and Order, based on what I'm seeing here. Case of the week, regular guest stars. Not seeing, obviously, it doesn't seem like... Oh, what's The Equalizer? Do you remember The Equalizer?
That feels like CBS
It was CBS
procedural
80s
drama.
show. It was an 80s action crime TV show
Yeah.
because Della Ventura was described as essentially a ripoff of The Equalizer. A review
Okay.
and TV guide noted as the tough-talking, larger-than-life private eye. Aiello Rita. Wait, is this Danny Aiello? It is starring Danny Aiello. Oh, no wonder this didn't go well. Good God, he never did anything good after the 80s. So basically, everyone said this is shit, and then she came back to Mad About You for season 7. The end.
Aha. But I very much enjoyed her parts in the show, and that's what I remembered anyway. And then when I watched clips last night and a couple nights before, I was only reaffirmed by that. I was surprised. I think, like you said, when I would watch clips and they'd just be going through, and the premise was kind of whatever, and they're just kind of bantering, and then a laugh came out of me. Like, they made a joke, and I went, like, I was like, whoa, like, it caught me off guard. Like, oh, they made me. Maybe they found funny within this, and that's a good joke. Like, and even whatever 30 years later, that's still a good joke. So kudos to the writing team for making that work. When again, it could have easily been mundane. There's been a million of these type of bantery sitcoms where all they do is just yell at each other or demean each other, and this is a way
question
different way of doing
is,
it.
did this work because all of those came out in the wake of this being successful?
Well, yes and no. I think sitcoms across the throughout time have relied on helpful banter between leads that have charisma. I think that is you start from there, you can kind of build any sort of environment around it. But yeah, maybe the fact that this was only that, for the most part, that stemmed a couple other things or spawned a couple other offshoots that tried to do that and just didn't have the writing or didn't have the chemistry or the charisma or whatever. You didn't care about the couple, so
Right.
you didn't care that they were making fun of each other.
So a couple points I want to hit before we talk a little bit more about like this show, the end of the show, the revival. You had Lisa Kudrow as Ursula, who was not obviously the sister of Phoebe when the show started, because Friends didn't exist when it started. She left to go do Friends, and then when she came back to do guest spots here, they're like, fuck it, they're sisters. So then Ursula would show up on Friends, and eventually there was a guest spot of Jamie and, was it Fran or Lisa, basically showed up on Friends in a cameo and looked to Phoebe and were like, what are you doing here? And they're like, oh, I'm always, exactly the jokes you think they would make about them looking alike. I don't have much to say about that except for the fact that Lisa Kudrow is also in the pilot as a completely different character. She's the bad date that Paul's on before he meets Jamie. The very first scene is a bad blind date that Paul's on, and Lisa Kudrow is the date. And it's fascinating to see her performance because she is very purposely boring and very purposely low energy, which is so not anything you'd ever see her in ever again performance-wise. She's sitting there monotone like, yeah, giving one-word answers is the bad date. And like, this is so fascinating to see this approach from her. The only person who did not come back that was living for the revival was Lila Kenzie. It's Fran. Every other surviving cast member that you would have known for came back for the revival. Even Carol Burnett came back and did a guest spot as Jamie's mom. The revival aired one season on Spectrum, not NBC, not anything. Spectrum Cable has their own channel, and they did a limited season 8 revival for Spectrum Originals.
If you wanted Spectrum, Mike, how would you find it?
I don't fucking know. I have no idea how you could have found.
I don't know if
show.
Is that like a Tubi or a thing where you just download the app and then it's free or whatever?
I don't know. Like, trying to look at this. My God! By the way, they brought back everybody. They got Jerry. When did Jerry Lewis die? Jerry Lewis died. Okay, so who the fuck wrote this article? Oh, no, this is the whole thing. I thought I clicked on an article that was just for the revival. No, this is everybody again on this article. I
Gotcha.
was like,
Yeah.
no, I remember Jerry Lewis. He came back for an episode. No, he died in 2017. This show aired in 2019. That's another point I want to get back to in a second, though. Let me click on just season 8 here. I want to see. It's interesting. They don't even have ratings on this. Like, seasons 1 through 7 all have U.S. millions of viewers, ratings, points, all that. There is nothing for season 8. There's no column. There's no anything. Like, this show just died on the vine. Fascinating. But what I want to dial back to is this show undoes, I think in a good way at least, the kind of bad finale that was story by Helen Hunt, co-written by Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser, and I think kind of dives into a lot of times why you don't let actors tackle your writing. Picard series, don't put Patrick Stewart in your writer's room. It was terrible. Sorry, that was just for me. When you think about it, that's my first example. Do you remember the finale for this show at all? And what the big controversial thing they did?
It was at the daughter retrospect documentary kind of thing?
She was a filmmaker played by Janine Garofalo. Basically, the long and short of it is they had separated at some point. And there were fan theories of things like, when did the crack start? Like, people actually tried to figure out, that, like, were they planting seeds for this? I don't think so. I think it was just a shit finale where they... But my thought on that, at the end, they do say they eventually got back together, but everything in the finale that they talk about for 20 years later is undone by the fact that this show happened and got a revival 8th season. You can look at all their epilogue stuff, all their jokes, all those things. That never happened. Like Richard Kine's Mark got back together with Fran because he had left her to go do Spin City in real life, but he had left the show. So in the final season, they got back together, and then the epilogue says they stayed together and they eventually got in like a throuple. In the revival, because she didn't come back because she'd retired, he comes back and he'd eventually left her and remarried. Stuff like that. Where they just ignore all that.
Okay.
But if they did get separated, I want to look at their relationship timeline real quick, and I texted you this yesterday. How long did you date your wife before you got married? Or even before you got engaged?
Before we got engaged, 2.5 years.
Okay, that feels reasonable.
A little over that, yeah.
And then it was about 3 years, probably, a few months then from the engagement to the marriage, right?
Yeah, like 8 months later, 9 months.
Okay, so
like that.
You've been together about 3 years when you got married.
Yeah.
I watched that flashback episode first before I went back to the pilot. And those two pieces of information are very important because they said the show starts in 1992. The flashback of when they first met only goes back to 1990 is when they met. And when they got, and in the pilot, they say they've been married for 5 months, which means that they were together. They only met, period, like at most 1.5 years before they got married. And again, I'll be dying alone, so I'm not necessarily the one to judge here. Let's not deny that point, Randall. It's just the way it's going to be. But, like, that seems aggressive, right? That is a timeline, a fast timeline of marriage from meeting to marriage. It depends.
I mean, it's also, people come to different points of their life, right? Like, if it's I'm trying to think of what scenario that would actually be a thing.
Please explain love to me because it is foreign concept. I need to understand how this works.
But it's also like the New York mentality, right? Everything moves faster in New York. Like it just is. Sometimes it's easier to cohabitate. Maybe that moves things forward in that regard, and so you just get used to being in the same place. Or it could have been if either of their characters, again, we're just making up backstories, had been in long-term relationships.
Jamie they established that she had just gotten out of a long-term relationship.
And I mean, I guess my wife and I can kind of say that sort of thing. We were both in long-term relationships, not many, but a couple years before we met. And it's at that point, having gone through that part of it, you sort of know when as that deteriorates and
I get
falls away,
what you're saying. You have clarity from it moving forward to the next one.
And so you know what you want, and if you find what you want and the other person wants that, you don't really have to mess around with it. I guess that's part of it too. So
you know what? That actually makes perfect sense. No, that makes perfect sense. I genuinely don't have any jokes. good logic. It's solid logic. Although maybe it makes sense that they did eventually separate, because if they'd only been together a year and a half before marriage, and then they got married, and then the plot of the pilot is they haven't had sex in a while. And I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing? You weren't together that long. Are you okay?
Yeah. I think that was I'm sure that was a plot device, but like still.
Oh, I know, but when you look at the logic of it, it's
just so
bad.
we can see the lettuce falling off the table.
Yeah.
But yes, could be early problematic in that regard. Like, right, like so maybe they're starting from the very beginning. I doubt it, but maybe they originally wrote to say we're going to do 6 years of this show, but we're going to put little tiny cracks all throughout just in case.
Last two things I'll mention on this. Let's hit the theme song first.
Yeah.
So it's a banger. It's a banger. I can't play it because YouTube will just mute it and it'll get upset. But what I can do is give you like a brief reprisal of it from myself.
Even if someone uploaded it at like 1.25 speed or something.
This is why I never understood how YouTube works, right? Like, I'm going to go on a side tangent here.
Okay.
How come I can find 15 versions of the Mad About You theme song uploaded in the worst quality, taped off TV, live upload, recreated. But the second I include 30 seconds of it in this video, copyright strike, muted video, like, what is the fucking difference between, how is that not a muted video and this gets muted? Make it make sense, because I can't.
You're too immensely popular, and so the vast amount of followers, they don't worry about the ones that nobody goes.
I want a real answer, because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
I gave that one because I don't have a real answer. So
anyway, to make sure, I'm going to actually add to a legacy, because the theme song is called Final Frontier. It was originally sung, as Randy just pointed out, because I had paused because I couldn't find it, by a man named Andrew Gold. It was composed by Paul Reiser. It was written by him. And then it was eventually redone in later seasons. Too, I think. Yeah, for the later season versions with Anita Baker, he played the piano. And he also can be seen in a live performance of her playing it on the piano. It's wild, because I thought he was going to get up and get involved. No, he's just in the back as the piano player in this live performance you can find on YouTube, which isn't muted, by the way. So, just frustrating. And then for the revival, they got Lyle Lovett to do it. And the Anita Baker
guest starred on the show, I believe, right?
Did he? Okay.
I think he had a couple episode spot, yeah.
Okay. The Anita Baker version's fine. It still has a little bit of that like soulful performance of the original, like that, more in like the kind of how they hit the notes. I did not like the Lyle Lovett version because he doesn't have range. He is almost like sing-speaking in my mind. That song has to have like you got to linger on those notes, and Lyle Lovett doesn't linger on notes. I feel like, I don't know, at least from what I heard, he didn't. For anyone who needs to know the theme, Randy, stand back. Not only am I going to hit you with some lyrics, I'm going to do a little instrumental for it because I know this thing. Tell me why, Belinda, love you like I do. Tell me who, as much as love you. Take just a hand. And I skipped like a verse. As we go into the final frontier.
Is it go or jump?
About you. Mad about you. Where were we?
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Is it go into the final frontier or jump into the final frontier?
Oh, I don't know. I also skipped a verse, so let's find out together.
Tell me why I love you like I do. Tell me who can something
make
my heart
something as much as you.
As you.
Oh, all right. Let's find out.
Tell each other something.
By the way, I'd like to note that my gut reaction was just Final Frontier, and it brought up the worst Star Trek movie, as it would. Final Frontier theme song, and it brought up just videos of the theme song. Final Frontier theme song lyrics. I finally got there.
Yes.
We're good. Tell me why I love you like I do. Tell me who can stop my heart as much as you.
As much as you. Okay.
Then this is the version, like, you know how a lot of theme songs have their longer network version than their shorter syndicated version? I very clearly, as I imagine you do, remember the shorter version. And probably as sitcoms went on, they
What's
had to
the
use
next
that
part
version.
of the longer one?
Tell me all your I remember this part. Tell me all your secrets, and I'll tell you most of mine. They say nobody's perfect. Well, that's really true this time. I don't have the answers. I don't have a plan. All I have is you. So baby, what we do.
Oh,
You can whisper in my ear.
The what we do, yeah.
Happen over here. And then it's let's take each other's hands. It's a bang. As someone who really enjoys swing and crooning yacht rock, this is right up my fucking alley. This is good.
NBC didn't miss much on sitcom theme songs in this time frame.
It's such a lost art, and they were the best at it. It's wild.
Yeah. It's Andrew Gold also, I don't know if you got into this part of it, also released a song, I think in the 70s, Thank You for Being a Friend, that became the Golden Girls theme song.
I didn't know that at all. I completely missed that. My goodness.
Yep.
Also, R.I.P.
Good on
He
him.
passed away in 2011. My goodness.
Yep.
So, wow. I'd see, now I'm just looking up his stuff.
Yeah.
He also did Spooky, Scary Skeletons.
That's meme thing,
oh,
right?
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this
Not
is so
meme,
sad.
but it was like videos, yeah.
Spooky, Scary Skeletons. I saw a TikTok last October that was like from his daughter that was so sad because that song kind of trends again every Halloween, right? And she was like, I hate Halloween because this song trends every Halloween and I remember my dad's dead. And I'm like, oh, God.
Ooh.
It's so sad. I saw Spooky Scary Skeletons and I got excited, then I got sad. The last thing I want to hit, I was about to move on to Spin City, but I wanted to hit one other thing that I really found fascinating. I mentioned earlier that Carol O'Connor and Carol Burnett were on playing Jamie's parents at one point, but Paul Reiser clearly has such an affinity for classic 60s, 70s TV, because when you look at the sheer amount of guest stars that came on from that era, you had Barbara Feldon, Jamie Farr, Ed Asner, John Astin, and to me, the biggest one that I loved, and I remember this episode, and I found it so fascinating, Carl Reiner came on. And it wasn't just that he was playing himself. He was playing Alan Brady, his character from the Dick Van Dyke Show, who wanted like a career retrospective of himself and wanted Paul to make the documentary. And this puts this now in the same universe as the Dick Van Dyke Show, but also in the Friends universe, and things can spiral out from there. And I always love things like that.
Well, and I think the reference to why is their daughter's name Mabel, right?
Yeah.
Which Jamie's overbearing mother, I'm reading this from Wikipedia, proclaimed that mothers always bring extra love, which is an homage to the Dick Van Dyke Show, where Rob and Laura are explaining Richie's middle name.
Oh, that's really nice. I miss that. That's great. And God, I think I also glommed onto this watching it in the late 90s because that was the era when the Dick Van Dyke Show was still on Nick at Night. And so like Dick Van Dyke, as someone who's 13 or 14, was still shockingly in my head and relevant at that time, which is also probably why you could get away with something like this on Mad About You, because it wasn't just that it had aired 20 years ago. Nick at Night had really brought so many of these shows back into memory and back into view that you could do this and the audience would react positively. Moving on, finally, to Spin City. And we joke about the richer kind of it all. It's more that he was in both. And to us, it was like, well, there's your through line. There you go.
Also, Alan Ruck in 4 episodes of Mad About You. So
I missed that entirely.
So there you go.
So Richer Kind was a regular in season 1, recurring 2 through 5. He left in 6 to go do Spin City. And stacked up against the 2, boy, do I like Spin City a lot more. Spin City is Michael J. Fox's television return. He had done Family Ties in the 80s, gone off to be a movie star. In the mid-90s, early 90s, his movies ebbed and flowed, right? He had gotten to the point where he couldn't lead a movie anymore, but he was still showing up in really good ensemble parts. Love him in Mars Attacks, and love him, this is very important, in The American President.
Great.
Written by Aaron Sorkin, which is genuinely a fantastic movie. But they saw him as a presidential aide in The American President and thought, that's our guy to be deputy mayor in Spin City. And they nailed it. He's fantastic in the show as the lead, holding everybody together. And this is a show that I don't even want to say it developed into an ensemble, even though he was always the lead and always at the front. This feels like a very ensemble show right from the get, in my view. They're very clear that this is a workplace comedy, a little bit of their personal lives, but this is a workplace comedy about the mayor's office in New York City.
And they found ways to make each character have their own thing without it beating you over the head with it. I think that was a really cool way about it. Just that the dynamics of two different people could play off each other. So it didn't feel like it had to be Michael J. Fox is in every scene telling somebody what to do something, and then they're just kind of going off. I always thought news radio was really good at that, and this feels like a similar kind of way that they are able to let characters play off each other.
Absolutely. I agree. It has that same vibe. Important to note, co-created by Bill Lawrence. Bill Lawrence has a great pedigree. He would go from this to Scrubs. He would go from Scrubs to Cougar Town. He has a weird gap in the middle where I was like, what the fuck? Where he show ran and co-created the Rush Hour TV reboot. And then he took a couple of years off from whatever that was and came back with Ted Lasso and went from Ted Lasso to Shrinking. So, like, we all have that weird moment in our lives, and that would be Rush Hour. But what a fucking pedigree.
It's a pretty good 5 for 6. So
right. Just making amazing TV since 1996. An amazing TV that is quick-witted, has heart, and knows how to cast. I know he has casting directors and people working with him.
Yep.
But he's obviously involved in that. He knows what he wants, and he does it well.
And this reunites Michael J. Fox. Don't forgive me if you said this, with Gary David Goldberg, who was the creator of Family Ties. So
you're absolutely
they're back
right.
together.
I did not say this.
Okay.
And I love it. And you know that it's related because at the end of every episode, never changed the card. So by the early 2000s, it looked so dated. But you get the same 4x3 sit, Ubu, sit, good dog from his production company. He literally never updated the card. You're getting 16:9 episodes, it feels like, by the end. Maybe not. Whatever I was watching, it was very obvious. It wasn't 16:9. He just had never updated the graphic. It looked so old by the end. It was still 4x3. It looked
probably
old.
A 1974 picture of that dog
right,
or whatever.
Exactly.
So it's
like, I doubt that dog made it to the end of Spin City. That sounds terrible.
Probably not. So
yeah. But very funny show. You had Richard Kind as Paul Lassiter, who is the press secretary. You had Stuart Bondick. I'm sorry. You had Alan Ruck as Stuart Bondick. What the hell was Stuart's job?
Was he?
Because I know Carter Haywood was like community outreach, played by Michael Boatman. He got hired in the pilot.
It was
based
like
on
diversity or something.
That's like diversity outreach in the community. James Hobart was a speechwriter. Nikki Faber. By the way, James Hobart played by Alexander
Chief
Chaplin.
of Staff. That's what Alan Ruck was.
Oh, was he the Chief of Staff?
Yeah, because there was one. He like filled in one time. He like had to be, and he got to tell Stacey what to do.
That's why I get it now, because that's why I could never remember what his job was, even when I watched it, because he was always complaining about how he thought he could do Michael J. Fox's job, how Michael J. Fox's character, Mike Flaherty, was, unnecessary. That makes a lot more sense now. He was chief of staff, and there was still a deputy mayor. They would butt up like that. That makes sense. Connie Britton, this is an early TV role for her as, what was she, the secretary? No, she wasn't the secretary. The secretary
I think she was just like an
Victoria
administrative.
Dillard's Janelle Cooper. That was the mayor's secretary. What the hell was her job? A lot of these people, the reason I'm asking this and the reason I'm having trouble with this is while they all worked for the mayor and they were all falling under Mike Flaherty, they all just sat in a bullpen at desks, and I have trouble determining what their actual jobs were.
But probably like a county clerk. Like, you ever go into your town's, county clerk office and there's like 5 people sitting there and one comes and helps you or whatever, and the rest of them are kind of pushing pencils around. I think that's what Connie Britton was.
She was an accountant for the administration, according to the Spin City Wiki, which does exist because everything has a wiki.
Sure.
She also is the reason why, in storyline, Michael J. Fox's character, Mike Flaherty, had to leave the show because she started dating somebody that everybody liked. And this is after her and Mike had broken up, because they had a multi-season arc of them dating, being together, breaking up.
Right.
She gets together with a guy who everybody loves. The mayor goes fishing with him. Like, they're all having a great time. It turns out he's a mobster and connected to the mafia. And this is going to be a huge thing that's going to take the mayor down. And Mike Flaherty, Michael J. Fox's character, decides to take the hit. And that's how he leaves the show, because the mayor has to fire him, even though everybody really knows he didn't do it, and blah, blah, blah. It was good stuff.
Well, and And in reality, the Parkinson had
Right.
sadly was even more
It's
noticeable at
it's
that point, and he wasn't going to be able to continue on.
fascinating,
So
and especially so obviously his character never had Parkinson's.
right,
He comes back a season and a half later. He leaves in season 4, isn't in season 5, comes back for a 3-episode guest spot in season 6. And boy, you can really tell. And I hate to say that, but you can really tell. And unlike later on where they kind of worked it into any acting job he would do. The Michael J. Fox show when he tried to come back to TV, which didn't work out, his character had it. His character in Scrubs, where he did a guest spot, they didn't say he had Parkinson's, but he had like OCD. They always had to add a reason. Why was he the way he was performance-wise? They don't do that for Mike Flaherty. And in season 6, when he gets spots, it's really obvious, especially because he's supposed to be a different version of the character where he's more loose and easygoing. And there were a lot of people in hindsight who thought his Parkinson's actually informed the way he played Mike Flaherty, who was stressed and overworked and panicked and like always kind of being pulled in different, like they're like, oh, it really worked for his performance. It feels so different when you see him later on. But that said, great, very funny show. I'm rambling about different aspects. Talk to me about why you like Spin City. We're kind of going all over the place. Refocus us. Talk about the show from your perspective.
I am always in on Rat-a-tat dialogue, with a bunch of different things where punchlines come from different places, and although sometimes reliably so. Richard Kind, you always knew something was going to go wrong, and it was always funny. I don't know why. Now that's just like Richard Kind's brilliance of playing the sad sack or whatever, or the arrogant sad sack in his.
Dialing back to, I was going to say, great catch, because I was going to say his character in Mad About You isn't really a sad sack. He's quite successful. He does quite well. He's just fucking weird and like kind of annoying. Meanwhile, you go to Spin City where he is neurotic, panicked, cheap as hell, and yet still feels on the same wavelength of both performances.
It just felt like anytime that if a episode was thin of Spin City, they would just be like, let's put in he takes questions from the media 90 seconds and this will be gold. And it always was. So, I think that part of being in a hustle bustle city hall kind of environment too, you can go to a bunch of different places, so you're not stuck in one place, one scene. You can move around. And again, you were not left guessing, but the show really moved, right? Like it wasn't. Something would get set up, but there were always things going on in other places, and I think that's the nature of local government and maybe even national. It's just trying to put out a million fires at once is mind, can unnerving and you can see the madcap nature of trying to get through everything. And I think that's what kept every episode moving really well, because they're trying to find a resolution to something. And then the thing about it is that just solves it for that day, right? Like that's kind of the idea. So it was very believable that, okay, we have another problem of the week next week. Well, that's pretty believable in the day-to-day of a city hall environment.
Makes sense. By the way, he's not, I'm dialing back because it was really bugging me about Stewart. He is not the chief of staff like he's the mayor's chief of staff. He is Mike's chief of staff. He's Mike's direct underling, which makes a lot more sense to me and makes their playback even funnier. That's why I was getting confused. Like, why the fuck is he still around? And that makes a lot more sense.
There's one scene.
I love
it was actually
some
the scene
Alan
I watched.
Ruck. Alan Ruck is just good in pretty much anything he ever shows up in. And that's without me watching Succession, which I know I need to do. Alan Ruck shows up in a thing, and I'm like, oh, we're going to be okay. Good stuff.
He's really good in it. He's flawed in Succession, but he's really good in it. So
last night I mentioned the top things that I remember him from, and I missed fucking Twister. He's in Twister.
Oh, right.
He's so good in Twister.
That's
and man, how did I miss that? Son of a bitch. Like of the things that I was saying I remembered. Anyway, keep going.
Then,
talk about the show.
Of course, without everyone, I'm sure knows this too. Obviously, Cameron Fry, his turn in Ferris Bueller's Day Off being the main thing that he's known for.
Yes,
so.
and to the point where they always reference it. There's a point where, and I remember this, he and Carter go to a hockey game together,
Yep.
and he's the only one wearing a Red Wings jersey in the middle of a Rangers game. So that's because they know what they're fucking doing. He's also great in Speed. I love him in Speed. He's one of the people on the bus in Speed. And he's also in one of the bad Star Treks. He's in Star Trek Generations as the captain of the
Enterprise
more specific.
B.
Come on, you motherfucker. Come on. I'm trying to
set me up.
He is technically the reason Captain Kirk dies. He doesn't actually kill him, but the whole thing is plot off by he's a captain that is not very good. He's Kirk's successor. And he doesn't know what he's doing to the point where Kirk, whatever. Kirk has to step up and save the day. And Kirk gets ripped into space and dies. And all I could think of is I'd love to get like another 2 scenes with Alan Ruck after that to be like, oh no, oh shit. Because you never see him again after that. They like cut to the rest of the story. I would have loved another movie of Alan Ruck going back to Earth and being like, guys, I got some bad fucking news. I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
I feel like the crew mutinied against him, and I just sent him out after him. So
like I've got like, oh no. All right. Anyway, who else is in the cast you want to talk about? What do we got? Or are we talking more about the show?
No, let's talk about Barry Bostwick. I mean, I think we need to. So
of course.
It's just,
my goodness.
Like,
the first episode had my first, because I watched Mad About You first. And again, it's a wry smile. It's me enjoying it for what it is. But I'm in Spin City and I'm in the second scene, right? They've just done what the hell is the speechwriter's name? I just said it, the young kid. James had written a speech for the mayor talking about like a bus union strike, and the mayor nails it and everyone starts to relax. And a reporter comes up, and again, this is the mid-90s, so hits even harder probably. Reporter comes up to the mayor and goes, Mr. Mayor, do you plan on marching in the Pride Parade this weekend? And he just goes, what are you, drunk? And he walks away, and everyone just panics and goes into spin mode, because Spin City. And just, I did not do his delivery justice. He is very Ted Kennedy.
I remember the delivery, and I think that's why I'm like...
I don't do... The way he delivers lines is like... It takes place in New York, but he is very clearly just doing a Boston mayor. He is doing a low-rent Ted Kennedy impersonation. And it is just so fucking good.
It's just the bumbling politician, just that he is self-assured in what they're saying, but has no substance. Like there's nothing behind his eyes. Like it just, he plays it so well. I mean, just this, it's great that's why Mike's constant harried expression works so well. I mean, just because he's like, I can't keep up with this guy. And he can't get out of his own way.
It's interesting, right? Because they also play him in that Michael Scott vein of he's clearly an idiot, but he had to get elected somehow, right? Where like every now and again he will bust out, that's how he got to this point. It wasn't just that he propped himself up with all the people who could get him there. He was good enough to get there, but to sustain it, he needs all these people around him.
He can rise to the moment though, like when the moment calls for it, for sure. Just awesome casting there too. He's perfect as it. So
I did really enjoy in the goodbye episodes for Michael J. Fox the way they handle his final interaction with Mike at the time. Is he's privately going to record a video saying goodbye to Mike and get it to him later, but Mike walks in right before he's going to do it. And instead of giving Mike the speech he would have given, he goes, oh, you can just be here now. And he turns on the camera and directs every nice thing he was going to say to the camera, even though Michael J. Fox is standing right next to him. And just the way the delivery works.
That's done, yeah.
He goes, like Michael J. Fox, he looks at him all heartfelt and he goes, okay, let's do it. And he turns to the camera and he goes, Mike, you mean so much to me. And it's just like, the delivery's so good.
It's good. It's good execution to think you're going one way and being prepared for that kind of emotional part of it, and then to throw a little twist in it. It's well done.
It's interesting. I didn't do any research on this, and I'm curious. Did Michael J. Fox announce he was leaving before that season started, or it was during that season he announced that he was leaving?
Oh boy.
They did 2 more years after that, by the way, where Charlie Sheen came in to kind of take his spot. However, they had brought Heather Locklear in for his last season. And I guess my question is, was she brought in that last season to bring up the show, or was she brought in because he was leaving to like bridge it?
Not, I think to help. So I don't, maybe it didn't happen before the fourth season, but like Heather Locklear was brought in to alleviate Michael J. Fox's screen time. I do know that.
That makes sense. But we don't know if we can't find if
I don't know if there was
a
quote unquote end game like to have him finish on the show. So, but maybe it just made more sense as the fourth season went through. They just said, okay, as we're starting to write this seems natural, and it's by all accounts, Michael J. Fox is like an incredible human being. So I'm sure he understood, unfortunately, what his limitations meant, and so it was best for everything to move forward that way.
That makes sense. And interesting, it's funny, they would move when they had Charlie Sheen in, and they actually stopped shooting in New York City and started shooting in L.A. because Sheen lived in L.A. I was like, oh, that's silly. But maybe when you're already setting your show in New York, he can come out for a couple of years, but whatever works. Then again, you got to think about where Charlie Sheen was in 1996. He was a much bigger star. He was on the downward spiral that he would continue on. I realized then he went into 2.5 Men and came back. But he's very much got that, I'm already having problems in the 90s, so I have to come to a sitcom mode. But he did 2 years on it and then moved on to other things. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, did you see all the options that were basically out there they were thinking about replacing with?
No, I missed that. What do you got? Hit me.
Okay, so Matthew Broderick won, which would have made sense. Dennis Leary, which is interesting. That almost is like leaning more into the over-abrasive New Yorker, but even though he's from Massachusetts, obviously. But John Cryer, which that's a fun one because basically I think he asked them about Charlie Sheen when they were already sort of considering him, and he was like, he said that in an interview. He's like, why did I do that? Like, because then Charlie Sheen he of course got back together with Charlie Sheen later and is sitting on giant piles of money from 2.5 Men. But and then Patrick Dempsey was the other one. So there's just a kind of, which would have been okay. I don't know if I don't know how much Patrick Dempsey comedic chop works in that realm. Maybe to surprise me. So
I mean, it's such a different era. I'd have to think about it, right? Like I'd have to. It's almost one of the things where I'd have to see it. I can't say for sure or not. I'm looking up. So, a lot of sitcoms have.
You can hear that, but
I could not.
Oh, okay.
A lot of sitcoms have dedicated directors, right? They become the person that we're going to direct everything. It's interesting to me that their season 1 director did not come back, and I'm not talking about the pilot. Thomas Chalamet directed the pilot, who would go on to be the legendary West Wing director. He has a very much house style of walk and talk and interesting angles. They did try to maintain a lot of that moving forward. You see walk and talks, you see things. Their second, third, fourth season director was a man named Andy Weir, who I recognize that name, but why do I recognize that name? What did he do? Let's find out together, shall we? What I'm looking for Andy Weir is what did he direct notably before Spin City? And actually, Spin City was his first big job. He was a fill-in piecemeal director prior to that. He did Spin City, and then he went on to do 22 episodes of My Wife and Kids. And then dialing back to last week, he directed almost every episode of The War at Home with Michael Rappaport. He did 44 episodes of that show, which... wild to go right, exactly. He directed then 76 episodes of the show Hot in Cleveland from 2010 to 2015. And then he has some stuff after that it's not worth getting into, but quite a career. Moving to the director that took his spot for seasons 5, 6, and 7, Ted Wass. And Ted Wass, if you don't realize, was also Blossom's dad on Blossom. So he then would go on to do.
While you're looking that up, Ted Wass also was in Soap with Barry Bostwick back in the late 70s. So because Ted Wass was an actor for a while before he started to become a pretty accomplished TV director.
And then I'm always curious, and I'm not going to dive into the nitty gritty of this. do you become a TV director because you are fascinated by it and you want to become a TV director? Or is it because you're not getting the acting roles anymore? And I don't have a good answer for that, obviously. But he would direct 18 episodes of Blossom. He would do 13 episodes of the Jeff Foxworthy Show. He would do 17 episodes of Caroline in the City before going on to do 45 episodes of Spin City. And then a show that it's fascinating to me that it had so many seasons, and he directed 64 episodes of it. I never once watched Less Than Perfect, which I think, was that a Fox show?
That sounds like it, yeah.
I never watched it. Yeah, because Andy Dick was on it. It was his post-news radio show.
Okay.
And then who is that? That looks, I don't know who else is on it. But, that's Eric Roberts. But yeah, I was just curious. And then he's piecemeal directed a ton of other stuff. He hasn't had a run like that again until 2007, where he does 45 episodes of Rules of Engagement. That Mom show that I think, is that still on? Or did it end? 2021 it ended. He directed
it's all over
16 episodes of
syndication,
that.
but yeah. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Which and then he directed a single episode of The Big Bang Theory, which without looking, I assumed reunited him with Blossom, Mayim Bialik.
Ah, that's cool.
So there you go. I feel like we're talking a lot about the careers and people on the show. Maybe it's just because I enjoyed Spin City and it was funny, but that's the whole point of this episode is, what do we talk about today that Spin City would resonate with? And we really can't. And I'm realizing that as we talk more about things ancillary to Spin City. Is Mad About You was a bigger hit, and I feel like we talked more about Mad About You and culture when we talked about Mad About You. I don't have much to talk about for Spin City other than to say, wow, it had a really good cast and I really enjoyed it, but then it ended and it was over, the end.
I think it's also, this is at a time in a lot of these people's careers that it wasn't their primary thing they're known for, right?
Yeah.
So, and that goes all the way down from the creators to the actors that are in it. I think Mad About You is similar too. Like because Paul Reiser, I mean, we think of Aliens, we think of Diner, we think, if
you're right.
I know you haven't been watching it, he has a pretty long arc in Stranger Things, like so that he came back in. So like,
I still think Mad About You is a bigger piece. Okay, here we go. I think Mad About You means more to the career of Paul Reiser than Spin City does to Michael J. Fox.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that's because this is the second thing Michael J. Fox did on TV, really. The second big thing.
Right.
This was his return to sitcom.
You're going to think of
he'd already established one of the most iconic characters in sitcom history.
You set Back to the Future aside, which you shouldn't, but you do. You still have Family Ties blowing this out of the water. So
sure. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right, Paul Reiser. Helen Hunt's an interesting one just because of her
this
movie
was her
career
start,
became
so she needs Mad About You. The only character I was
that got springboarded
of.
her into this big. She was in a ton of movies from the mid '90s to the Twister, like we said, to the probably what aughts. Yeah,
dialed in on what you were saying about Spin City. To go back to the cast about how this isn't the thing for all of them, right? But then I looked at the cast list, and I believe that for 99%. What, without Googling, because I'm going to Google it right now, but if you got something, James, Alexander Chaplin, he's the only one in the entire cast where I can't say, oh, he went on to do this. I cannot find that. What in my mind? What did he go on to do?
I absolutely remembered him, but all I remembered him from was his 4 or 5 episode arc on Scrubs. Which is a thing Bill Lawrence did, was brought a ton of the Spin City actors back for little, one-off roles. But that's all I remember him from. Interestingly enough, I think, did he get into like voice acting or something?
I'm going to look up his IMDb
I was looking him up, and I couldn't find much that was substantial. But the
knee-jerk reaction though is of all the cast, he's the only one, literally the only one in the cast that doesn't have a more notable thing. Spin City ends. Did he leave Spin City? Did he leave? He did. He also left after season 4. So he was not in 5 or 6. Do they address where he went in season 5? So the guy who plays James, Alexander Chaplin, I also didn't pick up on the fact that, although I think I remember watching this at the time, where did James go? He didn't do seasons 5 or 6.
Mm.
He left after season 4 as well, but I don't see a storyline reason. And also, Connie Britton left after season 4, and it was all because they moved to LA for Charlie Sheen. He didn't want to move from New York in real life.
I did, when I was looking through things, I did see that as that's kind of a thing for about 4 characters on this. Is just as they went away, there was no explanation. They were just not there anymore.
That bothers me. Give me a line, right? Give me a line why they're not there. But he leaves in 2000, and you're right. He does the 3-episode arc on Scrubs, but that isn't until 2004 is when his first one is. He does some TV movies. He does some guest spots in between. He's in Cop Dog, which I only know because, do you know the YouTube channel Red Letter Media? They do the Plinkett reviews. They've done like the Star Wars breakdowns.
Yep.
There was a point when they were being very rebellious about Plinkett, and they're like, we don't want to do this anymore. But people are like, no, you need to give us the Indiana Jones review for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And people were being kind of shitty about it. So they released a Plinkett review, but it was for Baby's Day Out, and then they did another one for Cop Dog. So just to fuck with people. And so Cop Dog has been mentioned on Red Letter Media a few times. That's the only reason I know this movie exists, because they did it to fuck with people. But he's apparently in Cop Dog. But I am not seeing. He's worked consistently with a few jobs here and there, but he has not had another big role, ever. And I don't know if that's by his design or by Hollywood's design. But really, after Spin City, he was kind of just working actor and done.
Which is interesting because he had sort of a memorable, like, vibe to him, right? Like you would think he could find that character into. He wasn't, I don't know. I'm surprised that other people he sort of fell off. Yeah.
We're kind of wrapping up here. The only thing I'll say is we talked Family Ties. I mentioned very early on, or no, I didn't mention. I went, oh, when we get to Spin City, I'll say my derp.
We're here.
We're here. Michael J. Fox's last episode of Spin City is rife with Family Ties references. You will note that Meredith Baxter Burney is his mom.
Yep.
She actually plays his mom on the show throughout Spin City. But I keep saying the finale. For all intents and purposes, for a lot of people, this was the finale. But Michael Gross, his TV dad, plays a therapist where he lays out all of his problems across his 2-parter to him. He comes in, and then as he's leaving his office, he goes, hey, you can pay Mallory on the way out. And not only does he say Mallory, Michael J. Fox had already closed the door, and he opens it back up, and he looks at him, and then he leaves, and the crowd goes wild. It's like, all right. I actually kind of always hate those references, because, like, that's low-hanging fruit. The good reference in this one is at the very, very end, when he's talking about what he's doing now. He's become a lobbyist for the environment in D.C., and he's walking around D.C., and you're seeing B-roll. He goes, oh, some of these people, though. Oh, God, you meet these Republican people, and they're such blowhards. I just had to work all day with this senator from, is it Ohio? Is where that took place? Ohio? Which would make sense Columbus, because I've picked up that most of the Republicans who come from Ohio are terrible people. He goes, oh, sorry, trigger warning. He goes, oh, God, I've had to work with this blowhard junior senator from Ohio, Alex P. Keaton. And I chuckled at that because, there we go, you got me. That's really all I have.
The one other giant reference that we could also come into is Christopher Lloyd guest starring in Back to the Future Part 4 is the name of the episode.
Which, the only references to that, I watched this episode last night just because I wanted to. It's a very fun episode. The cold open is he's bringing in like a mentor of his to head up the project for the millennium because it's about to be the year 2000 and they want to announce it for the city. And he's like this political whiz that taught Mike, and he comes in and they go, wow, time flies. And then Christopher Lloyd's character something like says a very Doc Brown reference about like time being relative to blah, blah, blah. And then Mike just goes, what the hell are you talking about? And Christopher Lloyd's character goes, I don't know. And then they hit the opening credits and they never mention anything again. Funny episode, though, where it turns out Christopher Lloyd's character thinks he's the second coming of Jesus. And he's like, I can still do the job, Mike. And then in between actually doing the job kind of well, he does really weird religious stuff. It's a fun episode. But anyway, what else you got?
It's good. From a casting standpoint, Carla Gugino starts season 1 as what was her?
Oh, she's the girlfriend. She's the
The
reporter
reporter,
he's
right?
sleeping with.
Yep.
Yeah.
The journalist, yeah, and
Ashley.
then becomes the love interest for Mike. Depending on what you hear, but I saw this on multiple websites, so it clearly must be true. Her
The
being
internet says
written
it.
off, her being written off was due to Tracy Pollan, Michael J. Fox's wife, not loving the chemistry between the two on
Oh,
set. So,
wow.
anyway,
That's
also,
interesting.
as I was going through this and I realized, so as you said, Carla Gugino's character is named Ashley. She is named Ashley Schaefer, which I don't know. I know you didn't watch Eastbound and Down, but that was Will Ferrell's character on, as this
Random.
over the top, like feathered white hair Southern gentleman character on, I mean, as over the top as it gets on Eastbound and Down. So I just, as I was seeing that, I was like, oh, an Ashley Schaefer a decade before a different Ashley Schaefer. It's
Alrighty. I've actually
wild stuff.
seen that makeup on Will Ferrell because there was a Funny or Die video that they shot in like the parking lot when he was on the show that I've seen more than I've seen Eastbound and Down, where it's a bat fight and it's a song about
Okay.
fighting with bats in a parking lot, and he's in that makeup in the video. So,
Wow. So
yeah.
I have one note of, it's semi trivia for you, I guess.
Yeah.
So Spin City, this was the beginning of DreamWorks's foray into television. As you know, Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen all came together. I think the first kind of big hit was like when Shrek hit in the movies, but there were 6 projects that came out in 1996 when Spin City first came out. Spin City was the only one that was even remotely close to being a hit. Do you know if I say Champs?
Oh,
Right.
that's the bar in
Timid.
Holt, Michigan that turned. Oh no, there
So
is a Champs.
Champs was Timothy Busfield was in it. Kevin Nealon. It was a show about friends that still all lived in the same town that they won the basketball championship together like 20 years ago. So it did not last very long.
Yeah, clearly.
Inc., which was a
That's the Ted
sitcom
Danson
with,
show with Mary Steenburgen.
correct.
That was on CBS. I remember that one.
That was DreamWorks. Arsenio Hall had a quick sitcom. I don't remember anything about that. Majority
It
Rules.
aired from March 5th to April 23rd, 97, 7 episodes. Not a killer run.
Majority Rules, which candidly I forgot. I just put down the names of these. I forgot to look up that one. And then High Incident, which was an attempt at another like police procedural. So, but there's all 5 of those did not do well. Spin City was able to kind of hang out. And actually the DreamWorks TV kind of endeavor does not go really, really well, where it's like they don't get anything that's even critically acclaimed until Freaks and Geeks in 99, because they would kind of work with a lot of different production companies. And then in 2001, they finally hit gold with Band of Brothers. And then that became, they did a little more almost like prestige HBO or limited series stuff. And that's where DreamWorks kind of came into play. But this was their best foray into sitcom or network TV, really, for anything that they had.
I remember Inc. very clearly because Inc. had a lot of pre-air hype. And then it aired and everyone was like, I'm good. You know, like it's funny when you look at the Wikipedia for a lot of shows that people expect to be good are always written very shadily, where it's like the show was canceled. This is on their actual wiki. The show was canceled after 1 season due to lower than expected ratings, which, to be fair, no show expects low ratings.
Right.
But that was one of those ones. It's Ted Danson, right? And I believe this is his TV return after Cheers, because it's been 4 years since Cheers ended. And then Becker was after this. We wouldn't have gotten Becker if he'd done Inc. What a tragedy. Sorry. Oh, God. How long was Becker on? Becker, I remember being one of those shows that felt like...
that was one of those, like, the CBS sitcoms that won't die. Like, it just stays
literally
on.
I was going to say, there are certain shows where you're like, how did that go that long? Because I don't think anyone really liked it. And it was, 6 full fucking seasons.
Maybe that's
And
a further
6
deep dive.
seasons of
CBS
classic network
sitcoms that
TV.
didn't die.
Yeah. That's actually, yeah. Or just show, yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Thinking. Some of our best brainstorming.
Anything else you want to hit before we just call it a day?
No, I think, like you said, I think this is interesting that we were looking into the show and we spoke sort of kind of overarchingly about the show, just to sort of like treetops, but that's sort of how it's remembered. And it was more,
Yep.
in part, it was more interesting to dive into the parts than the actual run of the show.
And I think I would like to keep this series going because I'd almost want to hunt down or find. I want to keep doing this with shows, but when will I find a show where I get invested in the show and not the fallout and the things around the show? You know, when do I get hooked into, oh, we were doing the pod and I watched 2 episodes for this idea and I thought, oh, fuck, this is really good. And I kept watching. Because as much as I enjoyed what we did here, I don't have any desire now to keep watching Spin City and Mad About You. I'm not going to go comfort watch it while I do other things.
Subconsciously, there was a reason that we had filed it way back in the back, and we brought it, we pulled out that folder, but then we're like, yeah, that can stay back there.
Exactly. But we'll wrap this up. Normal social media plugs: TikTok, Instagram, Mike Barcode, MikeBarcode. Keep watching, keep liking. If you're enjoying the podcast, click like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us those 5-star positive reviews on any podcast provider of your choosing. And just, you know, I didn't have the last thing. I froze. Just, you know, I had nothing. I'm like, should I edit this? No, that was a solid lead-in. I had all the points I needed to hear. Thought I had another thing. I didn't have another thing. But you know who has one more thing? Randy.
Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Goodbye.
Okay, so we're back. The episode just played out. And I'm pretty sure we already said goodbye and did social media plugs in that. But do you have any final thoughts? Do you want to do more plugs?
No, I think everything that was said before, I think, was fine.
All right, but what I wanted to do is come back to us in the present to make sure that the next episode leads in from us, not trapped 6 weeks in the past, because that's what it was. We physically time traveled 6 weeks into the past, and we had to get back home. We caught the leap home.
We did. We made it back, and same as it ever was, I will finish with goodbye, everybody.
Honest to God, I think that's really why I just wanted to do this, because I felt like if we recorded it, I didn't hear you say that, it wouldn't feel like we'd recorded properly. So even if I don't put it in, I think that was for me. That was for me. That was nice.
Cathartic.
I feel good.